It's a winter morning in London. Still dark, still cold. You're standing on a packed underground platform, pressed between strangers. No one speaks. Faces are blank, lit by harsh fluorescent lights. Phones are out, eyes are down. The screech of metal against the rail fills the carriage. Constant, familiar, unnoticed. You're moving, but it doesn't feel like you're in control. The schedule, the platform, the crowd, everything pushes you forward. This is the daily reality for millions of people, and it's a perfect illustration of modern depersonalization. Welcome to Historical Geeza. This is going to be the first video on the channel. I just want to give you guys a little intro, a little idea of what the channel is really going to be all about. Myself, I've been fascinated by history and geopolitics for as long as I can remember, even as a kid. I spent hours reading about things like the British Empire, the Mongolian Empire, about revolutions, Russian Revolution, revolutions in South America, the hidden stories that shape the world we live in today. This channel is my way of sharing that curiosity with you guys, if anyone's going to be interested in these videos. I'm going to explore not just events, but the forces behind them, how societies evolve, how cultures clash, how decisions made centuries ago can still affect people's lives today now, us living now. I'll be looking into historical figures, modern day patterns. Might even do a little bit of philosophy. I'll be looking into pop culture. And really, overall, we'll just be trying to connect the past to the present. So if you enjoy understanding why the world works the way it does, then drop a subscribe and look out for the new videos. The first video today is going to be about depersonalization in modern society, so it's going to be quite a meaty video, quite complex, but let's jump straight into it. Now, stepping back from the crowded London Underground, let's examine how modern society and the systems that we live in, how they shape the way we feel, act, and even think about ourselves. Scenes like this, they would have been unrecognisable to most humans who ever lived. For the majority of history, people lived in small communities, villages, towns and tribes. Identity was personal. You were known by name, family, reputation, or your skill set, for example, like a blacksmith or a farmer. You mattered because people knew you. Industrialisation and modern urban life have completely flipped that on its head, completely changed it. Society promised hyper-individualism, the freedom to be yourself, to carve your own path, but in reality, the systems that claim to liberate individuality often destroy it. By eroding local communities, small towns, shared workspaces and common spaces, hyper-individualism replaced real human connection with transactional relationships. Individuality is no longer nurtured by community, it's isolated, measured by output, and defined by consumer choice. The modern commute isn't just a movement. It's a symbol of a society that prioritises efficiency over social bonds, turning human beings into interchangeable units. The term mass society emerged in the 19th and 20th centuries as thinkers began to notice a shift. Societies were no longer built around shared values or traditions. They were built around production, bureaucracy, and scale. This brought enormous benefits: higher living standards, medical advances, technology, and longer lifespans, but it also created a paradox at the same time. Hyper-individualism required the dismantling of true communities. By isolating people, society created the conditions for depersonalization and the erosion of genuine identity. You're no longer John, Sarah, or a Dave. You're a worker, a customer profile, or a data point. In the modern world, work defines identity more than anything else. The first question people are always going to ask you when you meet them is, what do you do? Not who you are, what interests you, what do you do? It's always about your purpose or your job. Inside offices, warehouses and institutions, value is measured through output, target, metrics, KPIs, performance reviews. The system promises freedom, but by prioritising efficiency over social cohesion, It strips individuals of real community support that once nurtured authentic identity. If your value is measured numerically, you begin to think of yourself numerically. And when people feel interchangeable, they begin to detach emotionally. Psychologists use the term depersonalization to describe a specific experience. It's the feeling of being disconnected from your own life, as if you're watching yourself rather than living. People describe it as feeling emotionally numb, feeling unreal or distant, or going through the motions without meaning. Most importantly though, depersonalization is not a madness, it isn't madness, it's a response. It's often the mind's way of coping with environments where autonomy feels limited and where real communities no longer exist to reinforce your identity. What makes modern depersonalization unique is how ordinary it feels. There's no dictator, there's no obvious oppression, no dramatic collapse, no hunger, no wars, nothing. Life's comfortable, but strangely hollow. People are busy yet unfulfilled, connected digitally yet isolated socially. The system doesn't crush individuality violently, it erodes it quietly by dismantling the communities that once allowed people to be fully themselves. This conflict appears constantly in modern storytelling. Take Star Wars for an example. Despite being set in space, it's a deeply modern story. A massive bureaucratic empire versus a small group of flawed individuals. The empire isn't terrifying because it's evil, it's terrifying because it's impersonal. Decisions are made far from the people affected. Individuals struggle to make their mark in an environment that ignores their humanity. The story resonates because it mirrors reality. In a world without real community, individuals fight to assert their identity against faceless systems. This same tension appears in modern art. As society becomes more complex, art becomes more fragmented. Clear narratives give way to abstraction. Meaning becomes ambiguous. Irony replaces sincerity. Even music and film are shaped by systems. Algorithms decide what gets promoted. Franchises replace original stories. Culture is produced at scale. Without communities to validate and culturally cultivate individuality, art becomes mass-produced, reflecting isolation and depersonalization of society. Historically, societies they had third spaces, places that weren't work or home, town squares, pubs, churches, community halls. These spaces allowed identity to form socially and individuality to flourish naturally. Today, many third spaces are gone or they have been commercialised. You're expected to either spend money or leave. Individuality exists in isolation rather than in connection. This paradox of hyper-individualism, by claiming to free people, it dismantles the very social structure that gave individuality meaning. It's no surprise, obviously, now that in our modern societies we see high rates of anxiety, depression, and identity confusion. When people feel that they lack control over time, over work, over social support, they have psychological stress. This isn't a weakness. It's a predictable response to hyper-individualism and community collapse. Humans evolve for purpose and connection, not purely transactional lives. One of the most extreme responses to this feeling came from a man called Ted Kaczynski. Many of you may know him as the Unabomber. He identified real issues with industrial society. For example, loss of autonomy, physical stress, overdependence on systems. But his response was catastrophic, an example of what can happen. Rather than offering constructive solutions, he chose violence, harming innocent people, and strengthening the systems he opposed. Kaczynski's story serves as a warning. Alienation is dangerous when communities are broken and individuals feel invisible. Now this part about Ted Kaczynski can be applied to so many other different situations where people have been isolated from society and they feel like their only way that they can salvage anything from their life, salvage any meaning, is to attack the very society that made them feel like an outcast. Well, this is a very dangerous precedent. Long before the modern era, thinkers warned about these patterns. They argued that when societies grow too large and abstract, individuals feel insignificant. Hyper-individualism promised freedom, but instead eroded communities, and with them, authentic identity. Efficiency replaces wisdom. Speed replaces reflection. Quantity triumphs over quality. Without social bonds, individuality becomes hollow. Technology also accelerates this process. Algorithms shape attention, notifications fragment thought, constant stimulation leaves us with little room for reflection. The result isn't ignorance, it's overload. People are informed, yet disconnected, aware, yet uncertain. When traditional sources of meaning fade, religion, community, craftsmanship, people search elsewhere. Some find it in ideology, some find it in identity, some in consumption. Others feel lost entirely. Hyper-individualism promised freedom, but without community, meaning is scarce, and identity is fragile. Despite all this, mass society never fully succeeds. Some places, individuality survives quietly, in personal projects, as per, in art made after work, in ideas that don't fit neatly into systems. The system can organise bodies, but it struggles to control inner life. Communities, even small informal ones, are where individuality can still flourish. Tomorrow morning, the train comes again. The crowds, the schedules, the motion. That uneasy feeling of being disconnected. It isn't brokenness, it's awareness. Humans weren't meant to exist purely as cogs. Hyper-individualism without communities destroys the very individuality that it promises. Recognising this is the first step to seeing clearly, and once you see it, you can't unsee it.